Hey y'all, it's your favorite trainer with a belt buckle. Gonna help you pass the CSCS Chapter 14 review. If you're not familiar with Show Up Fitness, I'm the crazy guy with the belt buckle. We can help you become a trainer or a strength coach. For the CSCS, had that for over 5 years now. We have classes weekly on Monday and Thursday to help you pass the CSCS. And you get to ask people, professionals, questions about the textbook. We have a professor in kinesiology, Dr. Chiliwa. We also have a registered dietitian. It's to give you a little taste of what the industry is like and to help you pass this, most importantly, as quickly as you can. Do not, I repeat, do not spend more than 3 months studying this because you're wasting your time. There's 800 pages. Some of this information is good. Some of it's not so great, but the elephant in the room, where's the hands-on experience? So pass this so then you can get into the proper mentorship, supervision, or internship to help you learn about the life of a strength coach. So we're going to go through our study guide. We're going to start out with chapter 14. This is an example of what classes are like. So here we go. This is our study guide. You're getting a live peek at what you're going to get. We're going to tell you what to focus on, what not to focus on. So starting on page 317, this is the 4th edition for the CSCS. You're not going to be quizzed much on this. You could skip the chapter if you wanted to. So we highlight what you need to know. So if you were to skip this chapter, you'd be fine. But if you're a nerd and you love this shit, which is fine, I respect it. I'm a nerd too. I'm also a bro, got to marry the two. And so we're just going to give you highlights on what you could flashcard. So the big thing on this one is the ramp method. So raise, activate, mobilize, and potentiate. So we'll teach you what you need to know, but also the application. So how you would apply this to an athlete. So the NSCA is real big into the needs analysis. You need to be able to recognize the athlete's sport of demand for energy. So it's bioenergetics. You need to know injuries that are common in that sport, the muscles that are used and the muscles that are engaged. And that's how we design programs. So we give homework in classes where, for example, how would you do a warm-up for your athlete if you wanted to work with a basketball player? I was a track coach and I love track, so worked with triple jumpers. So what we would do is you run around the lap once. And so the track once, and that's going to be raising your heart rate and then just kind of getting the body warmed up. Now we're going to activate. And that could be like a 90-90 drill. That could be doing some just multi-planar warm-up stuff. And then we're going to mobilize, which could also be, 90-90 hip mobility stuff, depending on, so if you look at a track athlete, it's primarily ankles and knees and hips that you'd be concerned about with injuries. So you want to make sure that you're going to get those 9 checkpoints activated, ready to go. So your ankle, your knee, your hip, your lumbar, thoracic, cervical, shoulder, elbow, knee, shoulder, elbow, wrist. You don't want to worry about upper body for jumper. So you just want to get it specific to the sport. And so then you'd potentiate. And potentiation is going to be, you're getting the nervous system ready for maximal motor unit recruitment. So this is going to be really, really sport specific. The last 2, mobilize, potentiate. The first 2 are just going to be just like your general warm up. And so this is going to go through some other words that you can flashcard. Know the muscle spindle, Golgi tendon, and that's going to be on page 323. Just flashcard those: reciprocal inhibition, autogenic inhibition, and then the specific types of stretches with PNF. So PNF is proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation. Great word to say fast. You sound super smart. Proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation. Whoa, you must know what you're talking about. The PNF would be, an example of PNF would be, let's just take my wrist right here. So we're going to flex. So I'm going to flex as far as I can. And then I'll come back and I'll drive my extensors for 3 to 5 seconds. Hold. And then I'll go deeper into that stretch. And so it's playing around with the nervous system, and we'll tell you some specific ones with that. So let's look at these questions first. So which of the following is located within the intrafusal muscle fibers that run parallel to extrafusal muscle fibers? So that is the exact definition in the textbook on page 323 for a muscle spindle. And that would be the answer B. Know what a Golgi tendon is, as it says right here. GTO is a mechanoreceptor, as are joint receptors and muscle spindles, located near the muscular tendinous junction, sensitive to an increase in muscular tension. When stimulated, the GTO causes a muscle to reflexively relax. This occurs in the same muscle that is experiencing an increase in tension. That's referred to as autogenic inhibition. So that'd be two vocab words you could put down. Whereas reciprocal inhibition is a reflexive relaxation of the muscle during the subsequent passive stretch that occurs during the opposite muscle. So think of math. Reciprocal is the opposite. It's 1/4, 4/1. And inhibition is you've had a couple drinks, you're ready to go talk to that guy or girl, you've lowered your inhibition. The frontal part of the brain has been affected. And so your reciprocal inhibition would be another flashcard to have on there. Which of the following is not a proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation stretch? Hold, relax, isometric relax, or hold, relax with agonist contraction. So A and C are two PNF stretches referred to as, one of them is crack, contract, relax, agonist contraction. This one is hold, relax. And then isometric relax is not a form of PNF stretch. So the answer for that one would be B. Which of the following has the least range of motion? Hinge joint, ball and socket, or ellipsoidal. And this will be on page, let's at the joints, joint structure 321. So a hinge joint is going to be your elbow, your knee, primarily sagittal, which is going to have flexion and extension. Primarily not that much range of motion. Let's say about in the middle. Ball and socket has a lot of range of motion. So it's going to be your hip and your shoulder, a couple other ones in the body. It's going to get you in all three planes of motion. So sagittal, frontal, and then transverse. So if you're in a clock, think of 12 and 6 would be sagittal, 9 and 3 would be frontal. Any other time would be transverse. So ball and socket can get into all three planes of motion. So the one with the least range of motion here would be the hinge joint. So I actually screwed up on that one, sorry. The hinge joint would be the least, ellipsoidal would be the middle one, and then ball and socket would be your greatest. And you can see this on page 321. It just breaks down those three. So the answer for this one would be your hinge joint. And then according to RAMP, the main purpose of the first phase, as I mentioned earlier, is just your general warm-up. And then your sport specific would be your potentiation aspect. So what we do is we have questions, we'll have the answers at the end of our study guide, but then we also have a bunch of questions, over 250 questions with the answers for the study guide that we've developed. And we've helped people pass this within under 3 months. That's the goal. I'm also going to give you a little example of what class is like. So it's not just about the textbook. It primarily is to get you to pass it. But as I said, we will bring in a registered dietitian to talk to you about the life of an RD. And also we have Dr. Chaliwa, who's a professor, and he will get into the nuts and bolts of chapters 1 and 2. But then we also go through a periodized program for your athlete, looking at the different phases of the season, how that programming would look. And we reference one of our connections at the Dallas Cowboys, and we use their strength and conditioning programming for their football players. And so what we challenge you guys to do at the end of this 2-month period, you're going to be ready to pass the CSCS, but you're also going to have a program that you're going to be able to apply to the type of athletes that you want to work with. So I was just talking to a guy who's a high school football coach. So what would the in-season, the off-season, the preseason programming look like? And so for this part of the segment of the class, we're challenging you to come up with your own ramp warm-up. And then we'll also take a look at specificity, so specific adaptation to imposed demand, and we'll look at individuals on Instagram. Instagram's awesome. Instagram's terrible. I know one of the original CrossFit box owners, and this is in Northern California, and I was talking to him, and he said, Chris, one of the best things about CrossFit, there's over 1,000 of them worldwide. You want to know one of the worst things about CrossFit? There's over 1,000 of them worldwide. And it's the same with Instagram. Instagram can have great information if you know how to navigate through it. So you could look at someone like Dr. Reef. I don't know him, not throwing anyone under the bus. It's just a critical thinking exercise. And we challenge you to look at a page and not get obsessed with the followers or a blue check mark or the credentials. Dr. DPT, CSCS, physical therapist, works with pro athletes, you may think that everything this person is doing is gold. It can be legitimate, and there can be some validity within this, but we want to teach you how to navigate through application, looking at specific adaptation imposed demand, looking at overload, and when is it too far. So, we have him doing some specific stuff. So we talk about this. I think this is Ingram right here. All right, so he's doing some squat jumps. And we'll talk about, what do you guys think about this? When would you want to put this into a program? I love this. You got some lateral banded jumps. So you look at frontal planes plyometrics, awesome for your glute med, your adductors, stabilization of the hip and the knee. You're going to be, if you want to really get nerdy, the TFL, the sartorius, the gracilis are going to be stabilizing the hip and knee, glute med when the knee's bent. So this is a great exercise. I see the application, plyometric jump, awesome, great. How would you put this into a programming and where? And those are the things that we discuss. But then you get into some fuckery like this. My question would be why? So we go, and this is, I don't know, Doc, so I can't tell you and explain his mechanisms behind the programming. But a lot of this is probably for Instagram to get the likes and the follows. But my question here would be, why are we doing this? Why wouldn't you do it on the ground? When in football are you ever going to be in this dynamic situation where your feet are on a unstable surface and you're doing some type of movement like that? And we can always have some rationale. It's great, it's great for proprioception or whatever, stability. But my question would be, what if he were to hurt himself doing this? Then why? Could you get the same effect from doing a band standing press? Hold, and the trainer goes up, down, and you work with auditorial cueing. Would be a lot more specific to the sport and not doing some circus shit like this. And so you have some things on here that are valuable. I like how this is going to encourage knee valgus. So then the athlete has to externally rotate, which is a great exercise. Love it. And then you get into this. Why couldn't you just do it on the ground and use the band and have some perturbations in there? A lot more specific to football. I don't know of any football games that play with the ground shaking unless it's like a movie. So again, fuckery. And so then you have, let's take a look at more over here. Okay, why couldn't you do that on the ground? So the thing that we do is now we have a band on there. So he's laughing. Now we're getting into real crazy stuff, right? So my thing is, you have an elite athlete who you can literally do circus shit with as he's doing, and he's going to adapt because the software and the hardware for these 0.01% of organisms on this planet, they're the best of the best. It doesn't mean that Ingram became the best of the best because of this. And this is where we get lost with social media. So some of it has application, but we want to teach you to be able to scroll through this and find things that are valuable to do and then implement it with your athletes safely. Love it. This is great. Awesome hand-eye auditory. Amazing, amazing, amazing. This is great. Take that, put it into your toolbox. And then when you come across stupid shit, you're going to be able to say, oh, wow, I wonder if he was doing that just for likes. That's dumb. I would never do this. Anti-rotation perturbations with the kettlebell. That's stupid. And you're going to be able to recognize what is legit and what is not. David Alexander. So he had a post the other day. I really like this one because his rationale here. So using tools like a Bosu ball are great, but only when the athlete is ready. Also trying to implement power drills on top of balance should literally be the last thing. And most all athletes won't truly benefit from these drills. So he's going through essentially a prerequisite, which will be on the ground, into something that's unstable, and then to something that's the least stable. And so I appreciate this because there is some rationale behind it. But again, you're working with top athletes. So my question is going to be why? And you can go through some of these, and he's using his anecdotes from his certs. It's better than his CSCS, Exos, USA weightlifting, my master's. This is great. So if you get people to think differently and you are educated in a certain context or dogma, people are going to adapt onto that idea thinking that it's the holy grail. So he has his certs that he's obviously a big believer in. I'm a believer in our internship program. But some of the questions I would have when you look at some of these exercises would be why? So why would we be doing this exercise with a, again, top tier athlete? This is Hardaway from Michigan, now in the NBA. So what would happen if the ball popped, or he were to fall, blow out his shoulder? There was a point guard in the NBA who was doing stability ball presses. The ball popped, broke his wrist. So now the owner of the team, I'm going to come to the strength coach and be like, what the fuck are you doing? How did this happen? Oh, we were doing a stability ball, stabilization, strict arm, Turkish Get-up bullshit clown thing. Why? Because it's cool. Okay, well, now we just lost our star point guard, all for what? Cool? Likes on Instagram? Why not do a stable on the ground and do this? And if you wanted to tap the weight, all for it. So we need to look at what I call the final destination scenarios. What if the worst case scenario were to happen? The ball were to pop and he shatters his clavicle, most broken bone in the human body. Here, wrist, we'll get both of those. Are those important in basketball? Just a little bit. And so then you have some stuff on here. Again, I don't see why we would want to do this. And this is frustrating as a strength coach because you see this stuff and you're working with elite athletes. You're going to adapt. Awesome drill. I think this is really, really great. You can go through here and see the application for, and I love it. You can look at his eyes. It's an important thing to understand with the eyes. When the eyes are fixed like that, it's the cognitive phase of learning. There's a lot of adaptation that's taking place. So again, you could look at that and misinterpret it as, well, you put someone on a stability ball, that interpretation, that cognitive phase of learning is going to be there. But then we got to ask the overload. And what is the purpose of an athlete? Is it to produce force suboptimally, or is it to produce force maximally in that environment? And so that environment for most sport that I'm aware of outside of your Ninja Warrior stuff or Spartacus races or whatever, athletes, football, basketball, baseball, soccer, track, they're going to be on a stable surface. So we should probably be training in that specific way. And this is a big one that's been going around, the chaos variations, and just absolutely stupid. And people are going to say, oh, I can't believe you're making fun of pro and con. So a chaos push-up would be just taking the ball away. Why are we going to that degree? I'm not sure. They can handle it. Well, why not just add in a bottle of whiskey, have them start drinking? Because that's going to mess with the brain chemistry as well. And that will put them in an environment that's really, really unstable. You're messing with the vestibular system now. So if we want to keep on going down this U-shaped curve, how far do we want to go and why? Here's strength coach for the Turkey international team. Some of the stuff on here, where was this? I think it was this one. So you have some half kneeling Pallof presses. Not bad. I think it's very specific for an athlete. I like it. Lateral front raise on a BOSU ball. Not quite sure why. You go into any drills like this, sure, it's unstable. In the BOSU ball, I actually got blocked by the CEO of BOSU ball because I challenge them with their stupidity on that. But why not do this on a stable surface? That's all I'm asking. I'm not saying, and this is where people get mad. I can't believe you're saying he's an idiot. No, just because we're challenging some of the things that you do, I'd like to know why and have a reasonable explanation for it. That's actually a great exercise. I think that this would be like a contralateral bird dog press, very applicable, core engaged, brain is definitely firing in that cognitive phase of learning. Love it. Great exercise. for boxing. Love this. This is awesome. I'm going to steal this and I'm going to come up with a variation, very specific. I love the triple extension on the back end, stabilization of the shoulder joint, really, really specific to boxing. Great exercise. Take that, put it into your toolbox. Now, here are some drills where in basketball, I love it. You're getting into the transverse plane, working on essentially your different types of defensive slides and so forth. Great. Really applicable. Now, here's a fun one. So I did this in class and I said, okay, so let's find the fuckery and let's see something that would be legit. So right here, we got a guy on a Bosu ball, 2 of them doing ball slams. That's stupid. Guy in the back doing some band walks with the ball. Not bad. I like that. Why not do that one? Why not do this one right here? This basketball, love it. A squat and press, not the end of the world. You see the guy was doing some kettlebell swings. They were too high. It was a squat pattern, not a hinge pattern. So it's the form sucked on that one. One of the problems about coaching in this environment is there's a lot of working parts. You got to have people with all eyes. In the back right there, you got another guy on the Bosu ball throwing a med ball into a punching bag. Well, that's stupid. Let's go into, I think this is actually a good little cardio exercise. You can have these 2 guys go back and forth for a 5-minute drill, which would be addressing the aerobic aspect and oxidation within bioenergetics, which is a component with basketball. So you do little step ups with the ball, you're getting shoulder endurance, doing some jump rope. That's a great little drill that you can incorporate. Know when to put it into the program. If you want to do it at the end, you should put it into the end, do the more explosive stuff in the beginning. Doing some trap bar for some strength, doing some TRX rows, awesome. So it's almost like a pitcher game where some of this stuff is great, but then some of it's just stupid. And last but not least, you'll have some real flashy stuff like real game athletics. And you could look at some of these exercises and be like, wow, that's a badass drill. So this is great for cueing the triple extension, getting the glutes firing. Look at that drill. I love that. That's reactiveness and very, very applicable to track sprinters and so forth. But then you come over here and you have an athlete jumping from a stable to an unstable. And he's putting some stuff in here. So again, with all these people, I have to say like 1,000 times because we're so fucking delicate and precious today. I'm not knocking him. This is taking a small piece of the equation. Yes, I would need to consult with the coach to see their rationale behind it. And I would love to do that. I don't know many sport where you would do this. It looks like it's some type of skiing variation. And so then you get into some band stuff here. Great exercise, great hip stuff, very great exercise, amazing, love this, especially for a hockey player. Look how applicable that is to the sport. You're skating, you have that perturbation pressure from someone else, then you have to explode. Awesome, really great drill. And then you have fuckery 101. So then what are we doing here? This is right out of like Joel Seedman book. I had him on my board of education, but then all the stupid shit he was doing had to take him out because it's just we're doing stuff that's just flashing. Bosu ball there. That's a fine exercise. Those are great exercises, the landmine ones. And so I'm glad he's not doing this on a Bosu ball. This is just insane. I don't see any value in that. That's a good exercise. I can see the value there. This is just like MVC. At least he's doing this on his knees. So the chance of injury is extremely low. So I'd like to see his rationale. I'm glad he's not doing it with a fucking eye patch on and doing some other crazy shit. But, we're in an age today where Instagram is taken over and it's about, you have some type of pedigree, you put your CSCS on there, you put your master's student or even doctorate today. And now with those followers, they must know what they're talking about because they have athletes. So you got to remember that it doesn't go ABC. There's a lot more to understanding the fundamentals and then applying it practically but safely to the athletes. And at the end of the day, our goal as strength coaches is to help our clients perform better and to do it in a safe way. A lot of us are getting into this because we want to help us when we were in high school. That's why I got into strength and conditioning. I want to become a physical therapist. I was a shitty athlete, always injured. How could I help Chris back when he was in high school? I want to be able to work with kids and prevent injuries and help them optimize their sport so they could get to that next level. And so what we have today is a lot of people who are in the spotlight, and they put all these exercises out there. And it's unfortunate because then you have inspired minds who, now they're not even going through the CSCS. Even worse, they're getting like NASM bullshit, performance enhancement specialists, which is a take home, stupid. But then they see this and say, wow, I'm just going to do these exercises. So I can always tell a shitty coach is just programming exercises. It needs to be based off the individual. There's always context. And so to be fair, to knock me with this is I don't know all the context. And I make it very plain and clear in the class that this is a critical thinking exercise. Imagine if that person were in front of you, what questions would you have? And have a conversation with them. It's never like, you're an idiot. No, I would never say that. I'll just be like, oh, it's an interesting exercise. Let's talk about it. What's your rationale behind it? And they want to get butt hurt. Okay, whatever. It's on you, man. My goal is to help people think critically and help your athletes perform better. So that's what these classes are about. We'll get you to pass the CSCS. Make sure to check us out on Instagram and YouTube. Subscribe to this. Comment any questions that you have. We'd love to let you sit in one of the classes. Just DM us on Show Up Fitness or Show Up Fitness Internship. We'll let you sit in one of the classes for free. Have a great day, y'all. It's your favorite trainer, the belt buckle. Boom!